fighting gerrymandering. He's actually doing just the opposite. He's making a state sue until it's blue, trying to change the boundaries along the way. We're involved in that battle. I write a column every week for the Washington Times. Again, you can see it on our social media.
He's a busy guy, huh?
Keep our reforms intact.
Yeah.
There's a group called the Institute for Reform in Government. I was just working last week. We're trying to make sure the president, the vice president, President Trump, and Vice President Pence get reelected here. I'm honored to be his chair. In the 10 o'clock hour, I'm going to talk about a new thing we're taking on as well. But I particularly, some of you may have heard about, I was pleased to take on the role of president-elect. I kind of joked. A few years back, I was hoping to be president-elect. It wasn't the same president-elect that I am now, but it's probably the longest president-elect ever. It doesn't start till the end of the cycle, so meaning the beginning of 2021. But Young America's Foundation, Ron Robinson, their president, has been the president for more than 4 decades. And some people ask, well, what's Young America's Foundation? Well, they started way back in 1960. William F. Buckley started it out on college campuses, Young Americas for Freedom. We still have about 500 campuses across the nation where they've got chapters of YAF. And it's grown into this larger entity that's not only focused on college campuses, but also high schools, reaching out to young people. They do conferences. One of the coolest things they do that Tonette and I have been at a number of times is about 20 years ago, they acquired the Reagan Ranch. Just outside of Santa Barbara, just up in the hills. It's a beautiful ranch. People might remember when I was young, I was a kid. I was 12 actually when Ronald Reagan first ran for president in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
But between the time he was governor and president, he bought this ranch, and that's where they stayed. And a lot of times, you remember, they called it the Western White House. It was where he would go, and he loved to cut brush. And in fact,
I
when he
remember
did
that Western White House.
Gorbachev, where they had the cowboy hats on, which little known trivia, Gorbachev's hat was backwards, and they rode around in a Jeep on the ranch. The cool thing about that is you can actually see that ranch. It's still completely intact. It's exactly the way it was when Ronald Reagan last lived there. Literally, the boots are there, the cowboy hats, the clothes. There's even the soap and his Head and Shoulders shampoo is in there. The coolest thing I love about it, though, is the ranch is big, the property's big, but the house is small. David's actually not much bigger than these two. Studio I'm in and the area I'm in, it's really not much bigger than that. And it's kind of telling because, so you come into this ranch house, and when Ronald Reagan bought it, I remember most people forget about this, and certainly younger folks wouldn't know this, but Ronald Reagan was a child that was raised during the Great Depression. So he's very frugal. And so when they bought the house, everything was cleared out except there were 2 frames of beds, and they were 12 frames, kind of like you'd almost have in a big row.
It was the same words.
So it was just the metal frames, not very fancy, and 2 twin beds. And instead of bringing in a new frame, he tied them together with the things he used to make the ties that they would use around the fence posts. Tied them together, put a queen mattress on top, and he was still too tall. So there's a bench, there's a wooden bench at the end of the bed where Ronald Reagan's feet would sit when he slept on the bed, and it's still there. Like I said, you can still see the hats and everything else. The other thing people forget is between the time he was governor of California and president of the United States, one of the things he did is he traveled the country as a spokesman for General Electric. He was a GE spokesman. So you walk in the kitchen in this ranch house, and there's GE appliances there, kind of this pea green. Somebody told me it was avocado. I have no idea what colors are. Right. I mean, that was exactly, Dave. It was a 70s color. So it's still there. Why? Because they gave it to him. It reminds me years ago, Hank Aaron telling me that when he signed with the Brewers, Bud Selig was the owner, Selig Leasing at the time, that the Herons, Hank Aaron's family, they got a station wagon. That was a big deal for them. Today, he could get a car just for showing up at a card signing show. It's funny how different things are. So Reagan has all that. He's got this great wall. There's hardly any political books. It's almost all Westerns, but there's 2 cool books. Let's see if you're a sports fan. One in the bottom left-hand corner is the autobiography of the football coach George Allen. And up in the upper right-hand corner is the one I love. It's the autobiography of Coach Lombardi. And in fact, a friend of mine, Jeff Nord, who lives here in southeastern Wisconsin,
New neighbor across the street.
Political and sports.
One of the new neighbors.
And he has showed me in his office. He's actually got the letter. I don't know where he picked it up at some show or something.
I forgot, it's my junk back there.
That sign is down too, I think, isn't it?
From Ronald Reagan to Vince Lombardi's widow, because she sent it to him, thanking her
Yeah, that's down.
for the autobiography and how meaningful it is. And it's right there. I mean, it's right on the shelf still today, as though Ronald Reagan's just going to come right back walking into it. So, anyway, the Young America's Foundation does that. They actually have a big convention center, education center in Santa Barbara proper, and then the ranch is actually way up in the mountains. So you take a winding road that goes all the way up there, and just about every week there's students out there and supporters out there. The purpose of YAF is to train young people, is to really focus on free enterprise, on strong national defense, on traditional conservative values. And that's always been important. It goes back to William F. Buckley. It goes back to Reagan was actually the honorary national chair from 62 on up until
Did you go like that?
about the time he was
Oh.
president.
He's all
All
finished.
those things were
See, I like
a
that.
part of, and I think of
He was
coming of
walking off.
age
Ah.
when Ronald Reagan was running for president in the first years of his term.
Yeah, it's kind of a
I wasn't old enough to vote for him because I was 12
half-hearted
when he
wave,
ran
or?
and 4 years
I
later,
did it. He didn't do
still
it.
was not old enough, but,
Oh, you
but
did.
I think of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan,
I-
to me, is the
And he
reason
was
why
leaving,
I'm
I think,
conservative.
about.
Not only that I'm a Republican, but most importantly an optimist. I'm an optimist because Ronald Reagan was an optimist. He believed in the American people. And I love it when young people come up to that ranch because you see the two parts of who Ronald Reagan was and how it's reflected in his life. On one hand, being born in or raised during the Depression, you can see how he didn't throw things away, that even though he came out of Hollywood and all that, he had very humble living quarters, very humble life here in the Midwest. Growing up down in Dixon, being a lifeguard on the Rock River, which flows just south of here. At the same time, he had this big open mass of land that he loved to go out and cut the brush off and clear the trails.
Yeah,
And
you
to me,
don't
I
work
think that
like
was
that.
also his love for America, that America's free and open and it's a level playing field, but it's up to you. It's your hard work and determination that makes all the difference in the world. So I think of all this and I put it in context because, one of the things
They
that
always
we
do
talk
that.
a lot about AOC, I've talked
Talk,
about it before, I
talk.
think Jay was probably mentioned a little bit before as well, but one of the things she said was that somehow her generation missed out. AOC's generation, an entire generation, as she said, which is now becoming one of the largest electorates in America, came of age and never saw American prosperity. So do you think she's right? Do you think she's right? If you want to participate in the conversation, 414-799-1130. That's the Accunet talk and text line, 414-799-1130. I've got an opinion on that, and I want to share it with you. But first, we're going to take a commercial break here on the Dan O'Donnell Show. I'm Scott Walker filling in. We'll be right back.
No. We're gonna miss the whole show now.
Yeah,
Completely.
the whole thing is,
Down to,
this is a special report, so I'm sure
the show will be over by that time.
yeah.
Looking or feeling as good as it should, now is the time to finally get those new better than epoxy floors that can get your garage looking like a showroom and feeling like a place you actually want to hang out and work on your
You
car.
figure out what that is in the background, if it's a new weld.